Oh, I didn't turn my light on.
Hello. Take it away, Pam.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. What's up, giggly? I don't know why my
good?
bangs keep doing this thing. But anyway, this I feel like might be a chaotic episode. We just recorded another episode because of Christmas week, so we're trying to be prepared. Be prepared. That's the second
Be
time
prepared.
song has come into my.
I don't know what that song. I was singing
It's
it to
from-
the tune of "Be Our Guest" from
Oh.
Beauty and the Beast.
It's from
Be-
Lion King. It's Scar's song.
Oh, I don't remember.
Be prepared. Yeah, that's all I remember. Anyway, welcome to Giggly Witches. This is episode 23.
Can you believe it?
It's so exciting.
That's you pretending to flash the camera.
I didn't know what was happening. Moving on, we're talking about Yule and Christmas and the winter solstice and those traditions. Sadie, you got something silly to say?
Okay. This is one of those I need you to watch Arrested Development so you get speaking of bits, which for us was about an hour ago, but for you guys was last week. One of my favorite bits is when I get excited, I go spring break, woo, and then like mock flash. And they do that in Arrested Development for there's like a whole episode arc where it keeps happening throughout in like really like nonsensical, inappropriate times that don't make sense. And it's really funny. So when we were saying it was a bit. It was my bit.
Copy that.
One of my favorite bits is mock flashing my boobs.
Mach 1.
Yeah. Did we
Mach
talk
1
about
is
this?
just flash one boob. Mach 2 is both boobs.
Did we talk about this on a different episode that like in my like school like flashing and mooning each other was like a really big thing and like we just don't do that like we used to?
Yes, you did. We did talk about that. That was a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, miss those days.
Good.
That's a
times.
funny joke. Mooning people?
I think it's dangerous now because everything ends up on the internet. So it's probably a good thing.
Why it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah,
That's
it's probably a good thing.
I mean, we used to be like driving down the highway and just like mooning people. So funny.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you can't. It's true. That's why. Everything ends up on the internet.
Yeah.
What do you know? Figured it out.
The more you know.
We're going to talk about Yule and Winter Solstice today.
Yes.
But before that, we got to have some silly, goofy time. Some SGT time.
I already said this, Sadie. Sadie doesn't listen when I talk. That's your thing. That's your thing that we were just talking about.
I black out. No, I do know you said it, but I was circling back. But we were being silly, goofy anyways. But okay, what is our official SGTs of the day?
I do have a silly goofy if you don't have one.
I have one.
Okay, you go.
No, you go first. Mine's not very good.
That means we'll get through it fast. You go first.
Well, I just had another question.
Oh, okay. Okay,
like,
so my
silly
goofy is that a few days ago I learned that goats have accents and they have hard time understanding other goats from other goat herds because they all have their own accents that they learn their bahs in. Do goats bah, or is that just sheep?
They like scream.
They scream. That's why
they do bah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is insane.
Yeah.
So if one farmer has a goat and he sends it to another farm,
yeah, they're
all gonna make fun of him because he has an accent.
Yeah, because he has an accent, and he's probably not gonna understand what's going on.
He's gonna be
so confused. Just a confused little guy. And then I'm sure he learns the language, but it might take.
Or maybe maybe if it's like a boy goat coming over and the girl goats are like, "Ooh, it's got a sexy accent." You think that happens? Because if I had a goat coming into my herd with an accent, Sadie would
An
be
accident.
interested.
Yeah.
An accident. Got to be interested. I'd be headbutting my way to the front of the line as welcome accent goat boy.
Yeah.
Be like, sup. That is a really fun fact.
Thank you so much.
Interesting. I do think about a lot. This is what I think about when I travel around and I meet dogs and cats all over the world that are like chilling on the streets and stuff, and I'm befriending all of them. I think about, and I know this isn't how it works, but to me, they all have internal dialogues in human language.
They do. No,
You
I'm pretty
think?
sure that's like a proven. Like they
think to
maybe not
themselves like
internal dialogue, but they do understand.
they do understand. So I do think, but to me, I'm like thinking like in their head, they're thinking like, oh, I'm so happy to see this girl again or something.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's not technically like that. But yeah, they understand
I'm sure
to an
they
extent
do.
our language.
Yeah.
But I think they think more in like pictures and stuff. But anyways, I always get really emotional and happy thinking about like, oh, this dog speaks Spanish or this dog has like this accent. And then I was thinking about there's this dog that I posted on my story yesterday that like we call Bonita, but I call her Dobby because she has these huge little house elf ears. Dobby, I don't know, I came out of my Dobby. I call it because she's got these huge ears. They're like Dumbo ears. They look like she's gonna fly away. And when she sees you, they like go straight out. She gets so excited. She's the silliest looking dog I've ever seen. She's so cute. And I want to adopt her and take her with me everywhere I go. And I was like, but she speaks Spanish. I'd have to really learn Spanish so I could talk to her. But and if I introduce her to my other dog, oh no, I forgot my dog.
Moment of silence.
I'm gonna laugh
for Max.
Oh no, I'm gonna go home and he's not there.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I'm really sorry.
Well, I guess I don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna bring Dobby home and everybody's gonna celebrate a new dog.
New dog. When we first got Luna after our other dog Jessie died, it was a while. There was like a few years in between.
Yeah.
But the first time I met Luna, there was one time, maybe not the first time, I don't know. There was one point in the years where I called Luna Jessie and I immediately started crying. I was like,
yeah. I'm definitely gonna cry when I get home because like I cried like the day it happened.
Yeah.
Because and the couple days leading up to it, because my family was my brother was so thoughtful and sweet about it. Like he kept FaceTiming me with Max and just sitting. He was like mostly because my dad had to like sadly like travel for work, which he never does. But of course those days he had to travel and he just wanted to be home with Max. But my brother Luke was just sitting with him, taking care of him, whatever, those last couple days. And yeah, like he kept FaceTiming me and he was just kind of like pointed at Max and me and him would like talk so I could just like look at him. It was very nice. So I mean I cried like for the few days leading up and then the day it happened and then you're not home. So it didn't really feel real.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when I go home it's just gonna be really sad. The dog and cat died this year, the same year that were at my house. And freaking Tiger died like 2 days before I got home for Christmas last year. So I guess it was last year, but it was my stepfamily's cat that came. She was ancient. She was like 20 years old. Oh my God. I think she was 18 or 19. But I remember because I was in Bali and I was about to fly home for Christmas. And I remember looking at Hawkeye and being like, I hope Tiger's still alive. And I was like, well, my stepmom said she would text me if something happened to her because I specifically said. And then literally as I was walking onto the plane in the Bali airport, I get a text. My last bit of Wi-Fi, a text pops up. So I can't even text my stepmom back. I felt so bad. But the text pops up like, hey, Sadie, just, you said to text you if anything were to happen. And we had to put Tiger down last night. I freaking knew it. I had a feeling.
No.
I missed her by like a day.
Yeah.
It was so sad those 2 days. So now there's no animals in my house when I go home. Anyways, Christmas. Happy Christmas.
I did Google, and it says they don't have one in the same way that we do, but they do have dedicated voice areas in their brains and can experience a range of thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. When I was doing like research about like animal psychics or like how to communicate with animals, that was like, and I'm not an expert on this by any means, but it was like psychically connecting them like with them like in a more visual sense. So like if you're trying to like connect with them like and share something with like you can kind of like I mean it sounds kind of crazy, but connect with them like what's the word when you can like read each other's thoughts, like you can send them a
Like
picture
telepathically.
yeah, like you send them a picture, let's say they're like sitting across the room and you send them a picture of like them walking across the room and coming to sit in your lap, for instance, and or like and like it's to bring the emotion and the visual into it. So like the emotion of like you feeling happy because they're in your lap, and they can like pick up on those things rather than obviously if you verbally say cues, a lot of animals learn that very easily. Like, oh, come here. But that was sort of how it explained where they can like tune into like, and we know they can tune into our emotions because like
Yeah.
our pets will come like sit on us, or cats will come purr on your chest when you're like anxious and stuff, right? Like, but so you can kind of like communicate with them that way, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. That is really cool. I don't know if I believe listen. Luna has got an attitude. There's no way that she doesn't have
Luna's got an attitude problem.
thoughts in her brain. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. She's got such an attitude. I'm convinced that she was a person because she got thoughts for sure.
Yeah. Boo is or is. I mean, she's still alive. I just haven't seen her in a long time. Boo is a huge bitch. So love her. She's very opinionated.
Yeah.
Very
That's how my friend Monica, her black cat, her name's Biggie.
Yeah.
That's how she
classic black cat.
Oh no, wait. She's not black cat. That's Omar. I don't know what she is. She's different, but she's a girl cat. She also a bitch.
Yeah.
She's real moody.
Yeah.
Omar is a black cat. And he's kind of like doo.
Yeah. Boy cats and girl cats are very different.
So different.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
my silly goofy was a question for us to answer that I also did not prepare my answer for. So I will have to think about this as well.
Perfect.
But do you have any fun or silly or whatever like Christmas traditions that are specific to your family, or just like a fun Christmas memory to share?
Okay, yes. So obviously we always listen to the NSYNC Christmas album because
obviously
it's the best Christmas album to come out since 1999.
I love that. Hands down.
Hands down.
I'm a big fan of Justin Bieber's Drummer Boy myself.
So good. Anyways, one of the funniest, I think, Christmas memories that I have is we had this like big fake Christmas tree that we would put together, and then we would take it apart, and then for some reason the next year we would never be able to get it back together again. And there was one year, I think this was the last year we had this tree, and we were like, fuck this, we're getting an easier tree to put together or something, because there was one year that it took us literally 3 hours to put together. I was on the phone with customer service for an hour and a half. They were confused. We were confused. I was like, there's something wrong with this tree. I can't figure it out. We're all yelling at each other at this point because we've been at it for 3 hours. We can't do it. The guy on the customer service is like, I don't know. Like,
he's crying.
He's stressed out. We're stressed out. It was insane. And I wish this was at a time when everybody was recording everything, because I wish that we had it recorded somewhere, because it was the most insane thing. And I think actually that was the year that my mom left the tree up the entire year round and just shoved it into the corner of the room where you couldn't really see it unless
She's
you
like,
were
we're
like
not doing
in the
this
room.
again next year.
Yeah, she just left it up. She was like, this, it's staying up and we're done. It's done. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, and then I think that's kind of it. There's the other thing that is not even mine. It's just from the basement yard, and it's one of the funniest things that I think of every single time I hear them talk about it. Have you ever heard them talk about their Christmas episode? The guys on the basement yard, where they're like,
it's like my entire TikTok algorithm is clips of the basement. I've never watched the
pod
or
I
listened to
haven't
the
either.
podcast, but it's
just all over
like
TikTok.
90% of my algorithm, and I love them. They're so funny. But I saw one clip of a Christmas thing. I don't know if it's what you're gonna say. So if it's not, I'll share.
It just made me think of something else, where there was one year. We were little. I'll preface this with that we were little. I was probably like, I can't remember if this was like pre-accident or that's like how I remember my childhood.
Yeah.
So I can't remember, but we were little. Probably like 9 or 10. Yes. There was one Christmas when, so the boys and I, my two brothers and I, obviously would run downstairs, see what Santa brought, and then run back up. And so there was one year we came downstairs, we saw there was a massage chair. We were like, wow, this is so cool, so exciting. So we ran back upstairs. We jump into my parents' bed. We go, someone got a massage chair. And my dad goes, thanks, guys. He goes, surprise. Leans over to my mom. Surprise.
Oh no, that's so sad.
So funny. I think about that a lot, honestly. But that
did your mom just sit in the massage chair while you opened your presents? She was like,
but the basement yard that made me think of that was, I think his name's Joey. He goes to Frank and he's like, what did your Christmas mornings look like? And then Frank says something about, oh, we would go downstairs, eat breakfast, and blah, blah, blah. And Joe goes, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. It's Christmas morning. There are presents about, and you have breakfast first?
That is crazy.
And then he goes, let me tell you how it happened at my house. And it's so funny because this is how it happened in my house.
Yeah.
And Joey is me. He goes 6 a.m. I wake up. I drive this into the temple of my father and I go, wake up, Santa came. It still happens this way. It still happens this way where I'm always the first one awake. And I run out and I look at what's happening. Santa ate his cookies. So exciting.
Very exciting.
And then I go wake everybody up. And they're like, it's 7 a.m. Can you fucking not? Because we're not 7 anymore. And I'm like, what do you
Santa ate the cookies. He's been here. He left presents.
It happens.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How long did you believe in Santa?
He's real. In my house, you didn't get presents unless you believed in Santa. Still the case.
You're like, my mom listens. I can't say it.
My mom literally will put on, in like our house before she moved, there's this door in the basement where she would wrap all her presents, and she would put a sign on the door that said Santa's workshop, no unemployed elves allowed. She still does it. She still does it on her closet door.
That's so cute.
But yeah, I don't know. I never really there was never a moment where I was like, oh, Santa's not real. Does that make sense? Like, it was just kind of like, I knew.
I can remember the moment, but I realized.
Someone told you?
No.
Okay.
I believed for a long time.
I'll tell you about the tooth fairy next.
What about the tooth fairy?
I'll tell you after. You're like, what do you mean?
Johnny. Ooh.
I know, it's because I bored.
I couldn't tell you what age I just know I realized later than most.
I think same.
Because one, I trust
believe in
everything
magic.
everybody tells me.
Yeah.
One, I'm gullible.
Yeah.
I could be convinced now. You could be like, no, actually he is real.
Yeah.
But I also think because my youngest brother is a lot younger than me, so my parents were very like, it's real.
It's real.
Because he was so little still. So like it kept going. Like maybe I would have figured it out sooner if it was just my first brother and I, because we were closer in age. But 9.5 years later, another baby was born, and then that was probably around the age I would have maybe started figuring it out. But then so if I had to think, now that I'm thinking about that, I'm like, I'm 9.5 years old. And I think Tommy was probably like 3 when I finally was like, oh wait, I don't think he was real. He's probably like 12.
12. Oh.
But it was one of those things where like, because I don't know, me and my friends just never talked about it. They probably just like kind of stopped believing way sooner. Most of them had like older siblings. They weren't the oldest like me. So nobody was like, Santa's not real. Because I wasn't defending Santa or anything. I was pretty quiet. Like, so it was just one of those unsaid things where like it was like that old movie Baby Geniuses where they like turn into a toddler and they like forget all of the genius that they ever had.
No.
Okay. We'll go back to that. It's a really good movie.
Feels like that's actually what happens.
I think it does. I genuinely, speaking of things that are real, I just remember being on the playground one day and kind of like having a like, that's so Raven like vision. Like, wait a minute.
Wait a damn minute.
I was like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. My favorite.
So he's not real. And it was just like that. And I don't think I said anything to anybody. It was just like a realization one day. And I remember being on a playground.
That just made me think of in the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
When Neil is trying to convince whatever the kid's name is, I can't remember right now, that Santa's not real. He's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and like no one's ever seen him. And then he's like, well, have you seen $1 million? And Neil was like, no. And he's like, well, just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it's real.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here was my thing, as this is what I think about, because I still think about this. Could he be real? Would love that. But it doesn't make sense. And it's not about, because I believe in magic, right? I was a Harry Potter girl, so I believed in magic. So it had nothing to do with the validity or the logic behind, could he visit every house in the world? I was like, magic, no problem. Yeah. We can do that. My issue with it is, how could the parents not believe if there's presents fucking showing up under the tree? That didn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense to me either.
In the plot
hole.
Parents don't
believe. Where do you think they came from?
They're not like.
Where do you think these other presents came from?
Yeah, that's the biggest plot hole in history that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
The parents don't believe, but there's presents showing up under the tree that they didn't pay for.
Yeah. No, I think.
Oh, no, Santa's not real. So I was like, yeah, obviously he's not, because the parents are having to buy the presents. Like, yeah, the parent, like, yeah, that's, nobody talks about that. They're always trying to say, well, you couldn't visit every house in America, let alone the whole world. No shit, magic. Yeah. But the parents not believing, just, there's no way around.
There's no way. Yeah. That doesn't make sense
unless
to me.
Santa's brainwashing all of them, which is just not
like Santa.
Why would he do an anti-marketing campaign against himself? It just doesn't add up. It's not adding up.
Okay, so my thing about the tooth fairy.
Sure.
Apparently, there was one day, I have no recollection of this, but apparently there was one day my mom was in her bathroom and heard me rummaging through her drawers. And all of a sudden she just hears, I knew it.
Did you find all the teeth? Was it traumatizing?
And then, like, no, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. I fucking knew it. And then my mom was like, shit. And then I told my friend Jackie, and my mom yelled at me.
Yeah, I always felt just pissed off at the tooth fairy because I felt like my friends were getting like $5 and $20 and I was getting $1. And I was like, that doesn't make sense.
You're like, why?
What did I do?
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, I've literally never had a cavity. So if anything, I should be getting more.
Yeah.
And secondly,
Secondly,
that's another bit I like. That's from Arrested Development too. Secondly, yeah, why would my teeth be worth less?
yeah,
Doesn't make sense.
my first one I got
I was trying to deduce. I was like, do the molars? Is it the molars?
The molars. Yeah, like I got one of them.
Are they worth different ones? Am I going to get different? I was tracking it. I was like I've always been analytical, but I was like
very Virgo about it.
I was like, why are my friends getting more cash per?
You're like 5 years old with an Excel spreadsheet.
How much did you get? Typing it in my little fake computer. This is what I was doing. I was doing this with the Tooth Fairy, with Santa Claus. I was doing this with religion class. I was like, huh? And tell me again about, okay? Because my Catholic school, God bless them, but they taught us about the theory of evolution, and they were teaching us the 7 days. And I was like, literally, why were we talking about the book of Genesis half an hour ago? Now you're telling me over millions of years the chicken was created.
The chicken. Not the chicken.
But actually, I always respected this teacher a lot because she was, you could tell like different teachers were more like really Catholic than others. Some I think were there for a job and maybe weren't even Catholic. I don't know. But she was very, very Catholic, and she taught religion class, and she was very passionate about it. But when I was the obnoxious kid in religion class. I was reading the Bible. I was asking all the questions. I've always been fascinated by spirituality since I was a child. And I asked that. I was like, well, we're learning about the theory of evolution. This was in 5th grade, I think. Shout out Mrs. Lauder. And I asked that, and this I respected a lot because she explained it. She was like, God teaches us his ways in metaphors because it's hard for our brains to wrap around some of these things. So both can be true at once. Time didn't exist back then. So when he says on the first day, it doesn't necessarily mean 24 hours. It's a metaphor so we can understand the power he had to create, but he very intentionally set off the whatever. And I was like,
the Big Bang.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That makes sense. Now, moving on. Why did these daughters drug their dad and then sleep with him? Because that is a really weird part of the Old Testament that I think about every day.
The Old Testament was very strange.
It was crazy. My mom took the Bible away from me because she was like, you are asking about some fucked up shit. I don't think you should be. I think you're a little bit too young to read the Bible. They should put a PG-13 rating.
PG-13. Should be
definitely the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Definitely the Old Testament, not appropriate for children. Do not let your children read that. My mom was literally like, I don't think I want you reading this. I was like, does this mean what I think it means? She's like,
you're 7.
Yeah. I grew up a lot that year that I was reading the Bible. And that's the story of how I was traumatized by religion.
Oh my God.
It is crazy though. I kind of want to read it again. Old Testament is actually, yeah.
Just read the Lilith book that I told you about.
Crazy. I do. Yeah, I do.
Lots of Old Testament stuff in there.
Yeah. And I want to read about Mary Magdalene too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bible goes crazy, man.
Oh, that's what I started talking about before. It was the Mary Magdalene quote.
I do think like some things that make me laugh were not that the Bible is saying it's okay to drug your dad and have sex with him to bear a child, but like I'm like, some people take things in the Bible so literally about like, you know, they pick and choose and misinterpret things in the Bible to argue against you know, being gay, for example, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. And I'm like, okay, so let's just talk about the Old Testament a little bit. We're gonna pick and choose things that we're deciding that means.
Yeah.
Like it says this about beards, it says this about this, it has this story in here. I don't know if this is a credible source for us to decide how to live our lives. It doesn't feel like it's like kind of, I think we need to be all in or all out. I don't think it is
really like
credible source here to make rules out of because there's some crazy shit in there.
There really is really crazy things
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Absolutely insane. New Testament, much more tame, but Old Testament, whew, don't think
Unhinged.
that's where we should be referencing for. Anyways,
Moving on.
Yule, Winter Solstice.
Yes.
Oh wait, did I share a Christmas memory?
I don't remember.
I don't really have
so
one.
long ago.
I don't have one. Christmas, no memories.
We'll make new ones.
We'll make new ones. No, I do have good Christmas memories. We don't really have a tradition I can think of. I mean, now my family is like a mixed family, right? Like I have step siblings and stuff. So it's always a big party because there's 6 of us in total, kids now. Brady Bunch vibes. So it's always really fun. So we do like Christmas Eve as our like family.
Christmas.
And then everybody goes to their significant others' houses for Christmas Day. And my step family goes to their dad's. And I'm just home with dad and Heidi. Like, so what do you guys want to do today? Usually watch football or something. But it's always like a party. Like we'll play like what's that game?
Heads up.
Heads up. But yeah.
Same
Catch up.
name.
Oh. We always play that game. And my family, both families are super competitive and it always ends up in a fight. And usually I am one half of the fight. Like
I do love that game though.
It's really fun.
It is really fun.
And then my favorite game in the whole wide world, I think it's called Boom Cup, but I call it Boom Cup, and everybody makes fun of me. Do you know how to play Boom Cup?
No, what's that?
So fun. It's a drinking game and it makes you super drunk, but it's so fun. So I don't know if I'm going to be I'm very visual when I learn games. But basically, you put a bunch of cups, like red Solo cups, like for beer pong, you put a bunch of cups in the middle and you fill them all up with a little bit of beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like one cup in the very middle that either has like a lot of beer or maybe has like a mixed drink. It's like a little bit stronger. You don't want to get that cup, right? And then everybody's standing in a circle around the table and it starts with 2 empty cups and 2 ping pong balls. And so 2 people right next to each other start and you're bouncing the ball into the cup.
Okay, yeah. I think I know this by a different name, but I can't remember.
People call it different things,
yeah.
But it's so fun. So you're trying to, the person on the right is like the person behind, right? Because you're moving in a clockwise direction. So the person on the right is trying to get the ball in the cup before the person on the
rage
left.
cage. That's what we call it.
Rage cage. Okay. We call it Boom Cup and I call it Boom Cup. Like that. That's how it comes out of my mouth. So you're trying to if you're the person behind, you're trying to get it in before the person ahead of you so you can stack the cup and then they have to pass the stack and grab a fresh cup and they have to drink it before they bouncing it in. So it's like moving around the circle and the one set is like stacking up and if you bounce it in on the first try, you can like give it to whoever you want and it's like really fast and crazy. And we almost always play that game and that's my favorite thing ever. It's super fun.
That's
fun. Family tradition.
Yeah.
I love it. So it's like a party. We get drunk. It's a little Christmas rager. And then on New Year's Eve, nobody does anything. Everybody goes to bed at like 9 and I'm like, we don't have to get drunk again, but like can we like
of the whole holiday.
Can we like stay up past midnight?
Yeah. You're like this
or like 12:02.
This holiday only has one rule. Yeah.
Like we don't have to get drunk again, but can you guys like celebrate with me? Last year I was home for New Year's and I was just alone in my living room, like watching the ball drop on TV, like
wee.
Yay.
I did that a couple years ago. It was very sad.
Like I don't need to like rage or go to a fancy party, but I just like being with people, you know. It's nice. You hug, kiss. You've got somebody to kiss.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay.
You could come here for New Year's.
That's what we're thinking. Although you keep sending me spooky videos about.
Well, we're not going downtown for New Year's. That's insane. If you look up like
no, I know.
Broadway on Nashville, Broadway on Nashville
Broadway in Nashville
on New Year's.
on New Year's. Sure. Okay. Okay.
Insane. It's
Yeah.
like that would send me into an anxiety spiral.
No, yeah, we talked about like going to just like a dive bar
Yeah.
and hanging out. Um, yeah, I do want to see Broadway, but I wouldn't enjoy it on like actual New Year's Eve night. Like maybe we could go walk around on New Year's daytime or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. But yeah. Catch us on New Year's together.
Yeah, we
Are you
could
doing
record our
that?
25th episode in person.
Yeah. Oh my God. Perfect. Look at us. Look at us.
So,
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
who would have
Our
thought? That's
second
one of our
episode that we'll
motives.
be recording in person. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite bits, the look at us bit. There we go. Okay, let's talk about Yule and
Yes.
Winter Solstice. Pam, you were saying how you like to learn about the history and stuff. Was that related to Yule and Winter Solstice? Because I think you should take
Yeah.
it away.
I didn't say it. I was going to, but I didn't. Okay.
Over to you, Pam.
Thanks, Sadie. Okay, so there's all different kinds of stories. There's a few. The first one that obviously we know, like Yule and Christmas and things like that, is I think I actually saw, I don't think I knew. I know that I actually saw that Yule predates like any written history.
Oh, wow.
So that's very interesting. And it's I believe it began as a Norse festival called Yule, Jol. And it's associated with themes of light and fire and feasting. And some say that it was a sort of like Norse Day of the Dead. And
Oh,
Odin,
interesting.
aka like where Santa would have come from, because Odin kind of looks like Santa. Um, like does his like hunt through the sky for the dead to finally be released from their bodies and delivered like into the afterlife. And like the Santa offerings are like similar because it said that people would leave like food and oats and hay for like the riders and the horses of the hunt and things like that. And then others say that Yule was just like a New Year's festival kind of thing. There's also like Celtic origins of it being also like rebirth of the sun and becoming New Year. I learned that it was merged with Christian Christmas in like the Norse areas in the 10th century under King Hakon Haraldsson, aka Hakon the Good. After returning to Norway from England, he made a law that said Yule should be celebrated at the same time as Christmas. And everyone was required to have ale from, this is copy pasted from history.com. Everyone was required to have ale from a measure of grain and keep the holiday while the ale lasted, or else be subject to a fine.
Love that.
Yeah. And then there's also Saturnalia. I hope I'm saying right.
Yeah.
Which is an ancient Roman festival. And it's the festival to honor the agricultural god of Saturn, aka Kronos in the Greek mythology, to bless the coming year with like an abundant harvest. And they would do this like kind of when they would, do the winter feeding. And it's held at the winter solstice. It lasted days to week, depending on like the time period in history. It started as just one day, I believe December 17th, and then it kind of, as it got more popular, it lasted longer and longer. And the really important thing about this holiday is that like everyone was seen and celebrated, from slaves to servants to like nobles. Like everybody was seen as equals and everyone was celebrated on this day. Businesses closed, work ceased. These days, schools didn't open. Gambling was made legal during this time, and this time only. They exchanged gifts, they sang, they partied, they dressed really colorfully and like kind of like exotically. And one person, usually like a low standing member of the household, so it could have also even been like the slaves of the household,
Yeah.
were responsible for making mischief during the celebrations. And that included everything from dressing insane to chasing people around the house to insulting guests
Yeah,
and
I
all
remember
kinds of
learning
things.
that. Yeah.
So I
It's
thought
like
that
a
was,
very mischievous, like,
yeah, very like
yeah,
kind of like silly,
just kind of
goofy
like
time.
anything goes.
Yes, yeah.
Sort of like there's no rules.
Yeah, and
Goes
then
crazy.
there was one pope that I can't remember his name right now. He was like, you know what? This is December 25th, this holiday now. And then that's kind of how it merged with Christmas because there's no actual date
Mm.
of Jesus's birth. And
Hmm.
it just kind of then became December 25th. And from there. And then in like Slavic traditions, this
Hmm.
period of time is called Kolyada.
Okay.
And it's also kind of like I'm sure other places did caroling type things. I don't know too much about this. This is kind of the extent of my knowledge of Kolyada, but one of the
Hmm.
big things that they do is like caroling, where they go
Mm.
around and they wear bells and masks and they sing and they make a lot of noise to like banish winter darkness and like invite in like the spring and the sun back and
Yeah.
things like that. And this was also on the winter solstice night. Um, and it's just a celebration of light and rebirth and community and
Hmm.
prosperity and all of these things. And then there's just obviously like all kinds of things that have remained from Yule to
Hmm.
present day and that have kind of translated into like Christian Christmas and things like that, like the Yule log and things like that.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
get there. Yeah, so that's my brief history of winter solstice and
Christmas a history.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like how I like think of it or understand it is like so winter solstice, whether you want to have like a spiritual significance to it or not, it's typically December 21st or 22nd and
Mhm.
it's just the day that is the shortest day of the year and the longest night of the year.
Yes.
And so is
Here
that
it's the
signaling,
21st.
yeah, the 21st. So it's basically the days have been getting shorter and shorter and the nights have been getting longer and longer since the summer solstice,
Hmm.
right? And then we had the fall equinox where it's equal day and night. And now this is the shortest day and the longest night. And so it's that flip because
Yes.
now over time the days are going to get longer and longer and the nights shorter and shorter. So it is like this turning point. And I do think that's kind of why like Jesus's birth was chosen to kind of like connect with this because it was like
Mm.
him like bringing the light like kind of like symbolically. But it's a really beautiful time and I think it's so nice that it's near our, you know, like society's new year. We talk about like astrologically, that's a different time, but sort of our collective new year, it's close to it because it is a good time of it's sort of like thinking about it like going into like our depths, sitting in the
Yes.
darkness,
Yeah.
like just kind of like allowing everything else to melt away and like reflecting on the past year and reflecting on like ourselves, our inner world, what we really want for the year ahead. It's just a beautiful time um to honor sort of like the year we've had, the cycles we go through and set intentions.
Yes.
Um yeah. One of I don't know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but my like how I like to celebrate like winter solstice night because it's like the darkest or it's the longest night. What I'll typically do, which I'll be back in Wisconsin for this, so I can do this, but I mean I could do it here. But what I typically do is like have like a candle that I'm gonna do like an intention setting ritual with. But I'll turn off like every light in the house, try to block out any like is there like a little red TV button, like block every bit of light I can. So as much as possible, I can sit in actual complete darkness and quiet, like no meditation music, nothing, just darkness and solitude and quiet, and try to like meditate like that, which is very, I don't know, unique to me. Usually I'm meditating in the morning with like a guided meditation or something. But taking that like complete darkness and solitude and then lighting the candle as that's symbolic of like because it's like the sun is returning.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically is the idea.
Yes. That's where we get like Christmas lights and things like that from, is all the lights during that time symbolize like the return of light.
Yes. Yes.
So cool. So wild. I honestly have never really done anything for winter solstice. I think because I'm typically home already for it. So I'm just kind of like, I never have a lot of time at home, and I end up just kind of like doing as much as I can with the people at home, that I never really focus on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think I did that last year, but in the years previous, that was what I would do. And it's just like simple, right? Like just literally sitting in complete darkness and then doing a
I could do that at
meditation.
nighttime though, like right before I go to bed.
Yeah, yeah. And then like lighting an intention candle. But don't go to sleep with your candle.
I was gonna say, well, not with the candle, but
snuff it out. Just don't blow it out. Just snuff it out instead.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. But yeah, I think like at any point between like the solstice on the 21st to January 1st, or I mean like
Yes.
literally you can do this whenever, but I think that whole time period is a great time to like do journaling and any rituals you want to do about like what you're letting go of from this past year, any like disappointments or expectations that didn't get fulfilled, or especially any way you're feeling about yourself, that like you didn't live up to this, or you forgot about this, or you didn't achieve this goal, or stick with this habit, or whatever it is, all the guilt, shame, useless stuff. Do a ritual to let that go. That's a great winter solstice to New Year's ritual that I would say get that done before the first if you can.
Yeah.
And then like what you're calling in, because like we want to like let go so we can make space. And especially if you feel like, I don't know, I don't have clarity for 2025. I don't even know what I would want to dream up. Do a releasing ritual and just like let that be for a few days. Because a lot of times when we like release and we let go and we forgive ourselves, or others, whatever.
Yeah.
Then the clarity can come rushing in. So step 1, releasing ritual. Step 2, write down some intentions. And the classic stuff, like create a vision board, or write your affirmations for the new year, or the things your theme of the new year, what you're going to focus on for 2025, or the areas of life you want to be extra intentional about and transform, like whatever it is.
Yes, yeah. And those days you were saying, from the 21st to the 1st, that's like the 12 days of Yule.
Oh,
I didn't give myself enough time to like fully research. I know there's like certain things I think you're supposed to be doing on those 12 days, but I think that's also kind of like
day of Christmas.
I was just gonna say where the 12 days of Christmas kind of comes from. And I know people do like the 12 wishes of Yule, and each day is supposed to be something different, like my wish for my family, my wish for myself, my wish for my friends, blah, 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 kind of thing. Community, world, whatever.
Yeah. I haven't personally done that, but I have heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But yeah, my understanding is kind of like winter solstice is technically the term for like the day and the like event itself, and Yule is the celebration.
Yes, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this year it's the 21st. I'm trying to see. I'm like, okay, we've already talked about this. I have all these notes. They also used to still exchange gifts too during Yule, and it was a way to honor the gods and ask their upcoming year, and evergreen plants. That's like still why we have Christmas trees and things like that. They used like holly and mistletoe and like pine trees and all these things because they were said to one ward off like evil spirits and bring good
Mhm.
luck. And the tree shows like, you know, those are the plants that actually survive through the winter.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna
it's
say because they
showing,
like live through the
yeah, and it's showing like, you know, like life is like will return, and then the candles show us like light is returning from the darkest
Mhm.
part of the year. And they used to use mistletoe also to symbolize like love and friendship, which is why we use it for that these days.
Have you ever been caught under the mistletoe with somebody?
Me either.
Well, it was a question. I
Oh,
said, have you
oh
have you
no.
ever been caught under? And you said, me either.
Well, because it sounded like you said I've never been
I've
caught.
never. Um, I think maybe if it was up and like on purpose, I was like, let's go over there and kiss under the
So
mistletoe.
no.
If I
The
was
answer
with
is
that
no.
person, but I've never been caught under it. Like,
Yeah.
no, I can't. I don't want to kiss you. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Can't think of a time.
Yeah. If it's been just like up, yes, but that wasn't the question.
Have you ever kissed under the mistletoe?
That's different. Yes.
I was more searching for, is there a romantic story of you being under the mistletoe?
No.
Yeah, I can't think of one either. Next question.
Next question, please. But yeah, anyway, the whole theme of this time is like renewal and unity, unity.
You
You and
fool
me.
everyone.
Yeah, you and me. And like setting intentions for the upcoming year. All
Yeah. I thought I had more notes on this than I actually do.
I think
I was
I
like,
read through mine very fast.
it's like I
Because I really, it's so long. These notes are so long.
yeah.
But there's
Maybe-
also something called the Yule goat, which is of
Wow.
your people. So yeah. Um, and actually I think it's more specific to Sweden. Are you Swedish?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is your people. But it's seen as it's believed that it used to be like a tribute to Thor because his chariot is apparently pulled by goats.
Oh. I love how goat heavy this episode is.
You know, fit the
Back
theme.
to goats. Imagine a goat
Theme.
with a Swedish accent. I'm not even really totally clear on what a Swedish accent sounds like, to be honest.
Um,
That's not true. I do know because I used to go out with a guy that was Swedish
okay.
2 different times in my life.
But yeah, so
Wait, that's not true.
that's that. I'm moving past those. So yeah, people make them into like out of like straw, and there's apparently like big, huge goats in like town squares and things like that. And it's very cute.
Maybe that's why I love goats so much, because of my Swedish ancestors.
Perhaps it is ingrained in your blood.
And also my
Right down to
grandparents
the
had goats on
DNA.
their farm. Right down, it's in the DNA. That is very interesting.
But yeah, so there's all different kinds of like things that you could pull from to celebrate this time of year. You could be super silly goofy, like in Saturnalia.
Could be mischievous.
Yeah, but like
Start playing pranks on your family, and they're like, "Why are you doing like this?" And you're like, "I'm celebrating Saturnalia. It's my culture."
It's my culture. Yes, that's the ancient Roman one. So if you're Italian, you got that going for you.
That's so funny.
I wish I had more time to research. I did not start early.
I know we were doing 2 back-to-back episodes, so I'm gonna be honest, my energy started to lose steam doing this one. But I think the big theme is just thinking about how it's essentially celebrating the sun's return.
Yes.
And so reflecting on that, how that like speaks to your own energy and the cycles in your own life. If you imagine, hey, the bitch is back, what does that look like?
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and it's also like because we are in the shadowy, like the darkest part
Yeah.
of it, it's the shadowiest time.
Yeah.
But kind of it's also a really good time to dive into shadows
Mm-hmm.
and release
Mm-hmm.
that before the new year.
Yeah, it's kind of like thinking about like light overcoming darkness, and darkness doesn't necessarily like equate to like bad, right?
Yeah,
But
or like
it's
evil. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like those shadow parts of ourselves that are important, but they're not as pleasant as the light stuff,
Yes.
right? Typically. Um, and so, yeah, it's like, I think it's like a good reminder and a celebration too. Like, I think another good reflection would be like, what have I overcome this year? Like,
Yeah.
and like, what have I celebrate our own
Yeah.
like resilience and
Yeah. Like how
celebrate,
have I come out of the shadows?
yeah, like what have I, in what ways have I grown and what things have I all, not just what do I need to let go now, but what have I let go where I'm like, wow, I really like moved through that, moved past that, grew from that. So I think it's also a good time to celebrate our own light and recognize
Hmm.
our own light because yeah, like maybe we don't do that enough. Like we can get really, I think I've done a few readings lately for people that once we kind of like felt into the energy, it felt like, okay, you've been doing a lot of healing and
Mm.
now it's time to like celebrate that and kind of like make sure that you're like living life and not
Yeah.
just focused on, I think, and there's cycles for everything, right? Like sometimes it is like, and I think that can be part of this time of year too, where it's
Yes,
like we
I
kind of
actually just
go
did a reading
deeper.
for a friend, and that was the same kind of message where it's like, okay, you've done so
Yeah.
much work, you've done a lot of healing, like let's kind of
Yeah.
celebrate that healing and like start living now. Like, okay, like
Yep.
how can we
Yep.
like
Because
live
we
in that?
can, yeah, exactly. We can get really caught up in especially I find that I went down this rabbit hole for a while myself, and I see it in others too, where we can get really caught up in like healing our ancestral line, which is
Mm,
important work, but it's not 100% your responsibility.
yeah.
And um it really pulls you out of the present and it pulls you out of living. So I'm not saying that's bad or don't do it at all. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's beautiful work to be doing. However, we have to find balance with these things in our lives. Um, so yeah, if you're feeling like heavy, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling, maybe kind of disconnected or like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like maybe even like resentful of like your spirituality a little bit. Like you're just like not in that
Disengaged,
vibe. Yeah, like disassociating with them.
disassociated.
Um, I found like for myself, like I was like, oh, like, and I don't ever think I like totally lost it, but I think I got like a lot more serious than is my nature for a while because I was just, and that was part of like processing a lot and healing a lot. But I was like, oh, like I don't listen to just like fun music or watch fun movies or read fiction books or whatever anymore. Like I need to like have more balance with that stuff in my life, right? Like I was
Yeah.
so concerned with like can't listen to stuff that like the lyrics say something negative because then I'm going to take on that energy, right? And it's like okay, it's like yeah, it's good to be mindful of that to an extent. Like if you're only
Yes.
listening to like rageful angry music, like it absolutely can affect you, but
Yes. Yeah.
right? Like it's all balance. And so I think I don't know how I went on this tangent, but I think I don't know, for some reason, maybe somebody listening needs to hear that like using this Yule to reflect on the light, coming back to the light, like that shift into the light and um that transition. Maybe this was a heavier time of year working through some deeper, heavier stuff, but like this is kind of our signal to start transitioning into that. And Yeah.
Sorry.
Celebrating what we have overcome and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Hell
Exactly.
yeah.
I'm getting sleepy.
I can't stop yawning.
Same, I'm sorry.
2 episodes in a row. Look at us.
I know. It's crazy because it's not like we don't talk this long anyway, but for some
We
reason
typically talk.
we're more on when we're
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's kind of all the notes that I have. Any like other kind of crazy things? But 12 days.
Happy Christmas. No.
12 days.
Merry Christmas. Happy
I
Yule.
say happy Christmas. Happy
Christmas.
whatever holiday you celebrate.
Happy holidays.
Happy birthday.
Happy Yule. Merry Yule. What do people say? Happy Yule. Happy
I don't
Winter
know. I say
Solstice.
happy Christmas.
Happy
So.
Hanukkah. Happy all of the holidays that happen around this time of year.
Yeah. I lit my first menorah last year. That was very exciting.
Really?
Yeah. I was like,
What is-
okay, now I'm honoring my Jewish ancestry.
Yeah.
I was at a friend's house and her roommate was like, I'm gonna light the menorah if you guys want to join me. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, but you're half your family's Jewish.
Like, what do you mean you've never done this before? You're literally Jewish.
I was like, yeah, but we never
It's so
celebrated.
cool.
And so her roommate
Yeah.
was like, you light it this year. And I was like, thank you so much. This is so exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Happy Hanukkah to you, Pam.
Happy Hanukkah. Thank you so much.
And to all who celebrate.
don't know
Happy
when it
holidays.
starts.
If you are remember if you didn't listen to last week's episode that we gave you lots of good grounding and protect your energy tips. If you're heading into this week of celebrations and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be so drained and exhausted, go revisit that because we gave
Yes.
you some good tips there to take care of your energy so you can enjoy yourself and have a great holiday.
Yes. Also, I just thought of this. There's this tarot reader that I follow. Her name is Kate Van Horn. And I meant to say this in the last episode we recorded, but she was like, hey, just a reminder that you and your partner or you yourself can stay in a nearby hotel for the holidays. Just as a reminder. Like, you don't have to stay at the house.
Yeah. That's good.
And I thought that was a good little reminder for everybody.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. Boundaries. Protect your energy. You got this.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, right. We have to sign off. I just did my whole wave and everything.
Okay, bye. I'll do the outro. Follow Giggly Witches. Make sure you're subscribed where you like to tune in. We're on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Leave us a review. We are so grateful for you.
Other people find us.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think we've been doing this for practically almost 6 months now. Just about, almost.
I think so, yeah.
So we're very excited to head into 2025 with you and keep creating episodes. And it's just so cool and fun that we have this little community here. So thank you for being here. And you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Giggly Witches. I am Sadie Olson on TikTok and Instagram. I have some great guided tapping videos and other magical things on my YouTube, Magic with Sadie. I'm doing 2025 year ahead readings, which at this point probably booking out for January. So you can go get the link in the show notes, or I'm still doing my classic tarot readings as well. And if you want to join my monthly membership, we're going to do my famous year ahead scripting session where we get really excited and set intentions for the year ahead and do my signature way that we plan the best year ever. Come join us for that. And Pam, what about you?
I am Velvet Snake Oracle on TikTok and Instagram, and you can download my Tarot for Beginners guide where you can learn all how to read tarot for yourself and begin that journey for you, and it's for free. And then starting sometime next year, I will be having all new fun offerings. And I would love any kind of like input about what you're needing or um, what kind of things that you guys would be looking for in regards to like astrology and human design and any kind of witchcraft things, mediumship, energy work, all the fun things.
All the
And
things.
that's what I've got for now.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Giggly Witches. We'll see you next week.
Bye.